Okay, nice to see you, Toby.
Nice to
meet you.
Nice to meet you.
And you have done many promotional tours already. I understand that. But you also mentioned this album is worth it. It's worth every
Well, it doesn't
hard work.
it doesn't necessarily mean that the previous albums were not worth it.
Yeah,
but,
especially now.
But it's I know what I'm doing it for. Let's put it this way. I think this album deserves a lot of respect, not respect, but a lot of attention of myself. That's why I always say it with a little tongue-in-cheek attitude, because of course it's much better to go around and speak about an album to people who take their time, who want to speak about the album. So I don't take that for granted, and it's much better than going to a factory every morning at 4:00.
Exactly.
So
yeah. So if you compare it to the Ghostlights, I think was the last one. How does this new one stand up, or how does it differ from the last one, if any? Or is it a continuation of?
No, it's not a continuation. I think it's more embellished. It's more I don't know if sophisticated is the right word, but it's more. There's even more love for detail. It's more diverse, and I think it's because it's been put together over a longer period of time. Because after we had done the Ghostlights tour, I originally wanted to have a break, because I had done so much in the past, 17 albums, 10 world tours, all the interviews, all the management for 2 bands, the creative driving force. And that was demanding, and I said, like, okay, you have to make sure, you have to pay attention that you don't become a cogwheel in a big machine, in a treadmill. I didn't want to run in a treadmill and live up to schedules and to the pace of somebody else's expectation. So I said, okay, I got to slow down a little bit and work at my own pace and breathe through. And I didn't have a deadline as well. I didn't have any contract, not an Edguy contract, not an Avantasia contract. So I had nothing to do, really nothing to deliver. And I just wanted to have a little hobby. I built my own studio, which is not a real good idea if you want to slow down a little bit as a musician. But I did it, and it offered me new opportunities. And I worked on new material, not for anything in particular. It could have been a solo album, but then I thought, it sounds a little bit like Avantasia. And after a while I realized that without having stress, I was even more productive than if I had a deadline. And I was more productive, and ideas kept flowing. And but at the same time, still, I took a lot of time for myself. And because we had such a huge time span, the material got more and more embellished, and I had more time to reconsider the arrangements and question things, replace things, add little details, embellish it a little bit here, put some additional ornamental stuff there, and so I think it's a more diverse album, and it's creatively even more free than Ghostlights. But Ghostlights was also, I never did anything just to please somebody, and I never put something out that I was not happy with.
Yeah. So if you compare this one again from the first Avantasia albums, I was just listening to these. These were more into the power metal style, I think, of the early Edguy or even later one. And later on, I think this was metal opera, and then on the Mystery of Time, it was already rock opera, I think, subtitles. So I think it's
a
more
rock epic,
rock epic. It's more into the melodic, a bit more into the hard rock style, even though still keeping the orchestration. So
I think it's more open. It's opened up more, and that's got nothing to do with necessarily my taste changing. It's got something to do with more skills and more braveness, bravado, to allow anything, any new influence into the music without denying the roots. And I think even on if you take, for example, this record, you have songs like huge passages of the Seven Angels, The Looking Glass, Neverland, of course, Anywhere, Into the Unknown. On this record as well, Avantasia, Sign of the Cross, Farewell. There are also songs that are not really typical power metal. It was just the way it was produced, the way I arranged the songs. That was very, very. It was. When I say it was, I had limited skills to diversify the music. That downgrades those records, and I don't want to downgrade them. They are great for what they were. I think I didn't move away from power metal. I think I allowed more diversity, and I have the skills and the experience to allow more diversity into our music.
Yeah. And I think it was obvious already on this one. It's a huge leap from
the
two
you can tell
already.
That it's 6 years. I mean, there are heavy metal songs like Another Angel Down and Devil in the Belfry and Shelter from the Rain, even Twisted Mind. But of course, there's also songs like Cry Just a Little. Well, we had that on the other ones too, like Farewell. But I know what you mean. It's a little more diverse already.
Yeah, and the new one continues that.
Yeah, definitely.
Again, more diverse. So you have some old guests on the album, old vocalists and the ones that have been singing before, but you also added new ones. You had Mille Petrozza from Kreator, and you had Candice Knight from Blackmore's Night, and I think you had the Blind Guardian vocalist Hansi Kirsch also. So what did they bring in as opposed to the old guys or the previous guys that were involved before?
Well, Mille obviously brought in a completely new style.
Exactly, yeah.
I always wanted to work with Mille as a counterpart, as something extraordinary in Avantasia. Again, talking about more diversity, that doesn't only go towards folk music or Celtic world music, it also thrash metal elements I didn't have in the beginning. Mille, I always wanted to work with him, but there has never been a part that was appropriate. Now with this passage I had it, and I thought, that's got to be Mille. I had the passage, and I called him, and he said, yeah, of course, send it to me. I'm going to do it. Yeah, let me hear it. And so it was an easy thing. I had worked with him before with that guy on the Hellfire Club album. He sang on Mysteria on the bonus version, and he also was on stage with that guy 1 or 2 times. So we are friends. We've known each other, and it was obvious that he would add a different kind of color to Avantasia. With Hansi, I had worked before as well on Edgar's Vainglory opera. And I wanted to have him on the metal opera as well. But back then, Hansi was not available. He was busy with Blind Guardian or Demons and Wizards back then.
Yeah, I think that too.
So this time, it was just... I had met him like 2 years ago. We did a common cover feature for German Rock Hard magazine. I said, like, Hansi, if I ever do an Avantasia album again, would you mind singing on it? And he said, would do it, no problem. I said, great, good to know. Forgot about it, but when I did the new record and I had this song, The Raven Child, and this intro, I first thought a female voice has to sing it, that intro of The Raven Child. But then I thought that would be too obvious, like some Lorena McKennitt kind of sound. I thought, that's too obvious. It should be a man. That would be an interesting thing. And I thought of Hansi Kirsch all of a sudden, like in the Bart song. And I thought, that's great. Hansi Kirsch got to sing it. I called Hansi and he agreed. Or I sent him an email first, I think. And he said, yeah, send it to me. It sounds interesting. And he also did the other song, Book of Shallows. I sent him those 2 tracks, and Hansi said, like, that's great. You're bringing in 2 extremes in me. You're bringing out 2 extremes of me, the bard and the screamer. And I said, yeah, that's great. Do it. And he delivered a killer performance, completely new flavor, something I'd never had on an Avantasia album before. And with Candice, I had the song Moonglow written, and it was not distinctively written for her. I had a certain type of voice in my head. I needed somebody who could sing that very demanding, powerful chorus, but at the same time, this very innocent, calm verse and intro. And she popped up in my head. I was going through my record collection. I thought, who could be the one who sings something like this? Blackmore's Night. Candice Night. That's a perfect choice. I asked her, and she listened to the track, and immediately they agreed. So, yeah, it's a new flavor in the Avantasia
Again,
world.
yeah, but yet you have all these different singers, but who have different voices, but it still sounds together. All the songs and all the vocalists. So, a lot of work has been obviously done to the arrangements and
Yeah, of course, it has to be really you have to have the right songs and the right passages and the right choices to make everything mend into each other
exactly
very smoothly and softly.
Yeah.
And I think on that record we managed that really, really well. Even a song like The Piper at the Gates of Dawn with, I don't know, 6 or 7 different singers. Six at least. Oh, Bob, Jorn, Ronnie, Jeff, Eric, and me. 6 singers.
Yeah.
One song and everything sounds very, very natural.
Yeah.
Not like in many all-star projects or projects with more singers singing a song. It sounds put together artificially, but it's always and that's also something that maybe after 8 albums you know how to do it a little bit, and Sasha also knows how to do it. It's you get a certain routine in making things flow and smoothly mend into each other.
Yeah. So regarding musicians, what kind of players did you have this time playing the album? Did you yourself play bass and keyboards again, or?
I played some keyboards and some bass.
Yeah.
To be honest, the most demanding stuff, Miro is playing on piano, fast piano passages Miro has to play, and also the orchestral arrangements Miro does. And with the bass, it's the same thing. As soon as it gets demanding, I'm the wrong person, because I'm not the right person to be rehearsing bass a lot. Mm-hmm. When I rediscovered the bass in 2006, or when it was it 2005 or 2006, right before we did the Scarecrow album, it was really something exciting for me, but you have to practice something like that. Yeah. And there is no need for me to practice. I don't play it on tour. I play just sometimes for a sound check. I will pick it up and play 1 or 2 songs just for the fun of it. But I'm not what I would consider a good bass player. At home, when I'm recording, I can't play some basic things and make them sound good. But I'm not what I would call a skilled bass player. And guitar was Sasha, pretty much everything except from a few passages that Olli Hartmann did. Drums was Felix.
Okay, again, yeah.
Bass was mainly Sasha, me a little bit. Keyboards was mainly Miro, Sasha and me a little bit. And which other instrument have I forgotten? That was it. Celtic harp was played by Nadja Birkenstock. And backing vocals. We had a gospel choir. Herbie Langhans was doing some of the vocals. Some of the vocals were done by Olli Hartmann.
So it was easy regarding musicians. Yeah.
Everything was very, very, very easy.
Yeah. So how long did it take to record the whole thing from start to finish? Roughly, we started in 2000, I would say early 2017, late 2016, and we finished in October. 2 years almost.
Yeah. But it was not 2 years of constant work. It's a different working process. It's not like you go into the studio and then you work for 6 weeks and it's like you work on the fly, so to speak. You work, you go in there, you start a song, and I built my own studio at home, and I can start a demo like I play on a piano, I have a song idea, I capture it on a mobile phone or whatever, wherever I am. Well, usually I only have a piano handy when I'm back at home, but I sometimes can even without a piano, because when I have a melody, I have the certain chords in my mind, so I can sing the melody and then also hum the chords, like D D D C major, D D D D D D A minor, or whatever. I do it like this. I hum stuff into my phone, then I save it, then I go back to it, put things together, order them, and see if I get an attachment, a connection to it, work it out, and then I go to my studio and create a demo, a very basic one, which is I try to figure out which tempo the song has. I have a click track running. I put in the chords with the keyboard. I have a microphone there, and I sing. a guide track, which can be something like. Then I do a guide track with my voice for the drums. I do one for the guitars, which is really weird. I sing those instruments, but I underline everything. I support everything with chords so that harmonically it makes sense, and Sasha knows exactly what it is. And then I sing the melody, or sometimes when there is a guitar melody, I hum it. And so I go through the whole song, so we have a skeleton of a song. And then sometimes I add the bass myself at home, sometimes Sasha does the bass and the guitars to it. Then we take the basic keyboards that I had, Miro either replaces them or adds his keyboards. And sometimes even before I have that whole, Sasha programs the drums, so that Felix will know what to play afterwards. And sometimes I even start singing before there's guitars on there. We did that bonus track, Heart. It's not on the promotional copy. It's a bonus track that we did. And I remember I was singing most of it before the song was even there. There was just keyboards there, and I was singing to it. And it works. Of course, it's better to have the right feeling of guitars in the background and everything, the proper instruments. But it's a jigsaw puzzle, but it's not painting by numbers. It's really, I know what is going on there. It's not a nerdy, artificial drawing board creation. It's a very, very intuitional way of working. So what I want to say is it's not putting it together like on a drawing board.
Yeah.
It is still very intuitional, inspirational working.
Organic way of working.
Yeah, it is. Very. The most organic way it could be. Yeah. And still, when you work on several systems in several studios, you still have all options. We click so well with each other. We're on the phone sometimes, playing things. We're on the phone while he sends me some files, and I say, no, we should do it differently. And we work parallel in our studios, that you can give the material way more attention than if you would hop into a studio and do it in 6 weeks, the whole thing. Because you can reconsider stuff, try out stuff, change stuff, and you have everything always in front of you.
Yeah. And what I noticed from the copy, there was an interesting cover of Maniac.
Oh yeah.
It's an old dance song. So what did that happen? How did that come about?
I always liked the song, and I said, let's do a cover version. And Sasha said, no, it's been done so many times. So
and even
bands.
the metal versions, I think.
Yeah, Firewind.
Yeah, Firewind. I have that.
I didn't know it.
Yeah, I have it.
I was told that they did it by, I don't know who said that. Sasha had done a cover version with a band called Sergeant Fury. He had even produced that.
Okay, I didn't know that. I knew the Firewind version.
So, but there is probably many of them. I didn't know a single one of them. And Sasha said, no. And I said, oh, yes, let's do it. I like it. It's going to be a bonus track or something just for the sake, just for fun. We did it, and he said, well, actually, I said, what do you think? Well, actually, I have to admit, I really like it a lot. It's got a lot of power that I haven't heard in any of the other versions that I have heard before. So I said, okay, why not? We should make it an Avantasia version. We should get a second singer singing a duet with me. And I think Eric Martin would be the right choice. So I said, that's a good idea. I can imagine that. We asked Eric. He said, oh, I really like the track. Everybody liked it in the 80s. Oh, yeah, I'm going to do it. So we did it, and after it was finished, we thought it's so great. It should be a proper album track. Of course, it doesn't fit into the concept.
Yeah.
But we said, this is not science. This is not a matter of life and death. It's art. Let's make it a bonus track, which is an official album track. And that's what we did. Put it on the album. Great song. And it was a good choice to put it on the album because it balances out all the sophisticated stuff that is on the with all the long songs that we have on the record. It's great to have some more easy or easier accessible stuff on the album too. As a counterweight to sophisticated stuff like The Raven Child or Ghost in the Moon or even Piper at the Gates of Dawn and Alchemy. Those songs are very long and almost on the verge of being progressive. So I thought a 4-minute rock song would do the album it would be quite well for the album.
Yeah. So obviously now you are starting to plan your tour, or what are your plans regarding live shows?
Well, it's going to be just 10 weeks, I think, and then probably a few festivals. Avantasia tours are always, I have to say, they're never too long, because there's so many people involved who have their own schedules and their own individual obligations, that an Avantasia tour is never too long. So within 10 weeks, we're going to travel around the world. We're going to play Asia, Australia, Europe, and America. And then we're going to come home and do a few festivals, and that's it.
Any shows in Finland?
Nothing planned yet. No indoor show indoor show for sure.
Yeah, that's
Indoor tour show for sure.
Yeah.
That rhymes.
Yeah, that's a new song.
It's a tongue breaker.
Yeah.
And I hope, I have a slight bit of hope that we can do some festival here in summer, but I heard that it's probably not going to be Tuska.
Yeah, you played Tuska a couple of
we
years
played
ago.
Tuska, and it was great.
So you at the Sweden Rock as well on that same tour. It was 2 shows.
But I think Finland was better.
Yeah, in Sweden Rock it was so cold. I had, it was like this because the sun went down and it was so cold.
Yeah, I know. And it was.
In Tuska
we were
it was
cut
warmer.
short.
Yeah.
Tuska was great, and it was so.
Yeah.
We did some of the funniest pictures backstage at Tuska with Michi and
Yeah, Michi.
Was Ronnie there as well? Ronnie Atkins.
I think so.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
and Bob
think he
was
was-
Ronnie,
there.
Bob, Eric.
was
I think
there,
everybody
Jorn.
was there,
Amanda
yeah.
was there
Yeah.
as well. What would you do if you weren't a musician? Or is that even a possibility to think about?
No, that's not really a possibility. I would have become a journalist, but it was not really an option. Really, honestly, I was. It was clear for me from the beginning that I would be a musician. When I was a kid, I wanted to be. That's no bullshit. I wanted to become Pope. My parents told me that was when I was 4. I want to be Pope, because the Pope came to our hometown, and there was quite a buzz about it, and I thought, wow, that's impressive. I want to be one of those guys. But it's like we don't have that much demand for popes in the job world. Not in the Middle Ages, there was more demand because they were dying quicker, but poisoned. But nowadays, there's not so much demand for popes, so it's even easier to be a successful musician than a successful pope.
Yeah, so on tour with Avantasia, that's your
That's my life.
destiny. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank
This
you.
is great.